Hello and welcome to Business Arena on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Join me for the latest business headlines of the day. Russia's oil profits are being squeezed by the growing cost of tanker freight due to a new package of sanctions imposed by the United States. But already some nominees for the new U.S. administration say that Washington has been too soft on the issue and threaten further action.
Ships like these, part of the so-called shadow fleet, have been a key means driving the export of Russian crude since Western sanctions started biting. They handle around a quarter of the total volume of oil exports. However, Moscow has successfully evaded these restrictions. Last Friday, as part of its final actions, the outgoing Biden administration delivered the hardest blow yet.
They are the strongest one that any of sanctioning institutions imposed towards Russia energy sector, including shadow tankers.
Over 100 of these vessels were added to the sanctions list, the most effective mechanism which could put a dent in Russia's export volumes, according to Katinas.
However, when you put vessel on the sanction, nobody wants to mess with them. So this mechanism is much better compared to sanctioning only specific companies.
As a result of the new restrictions, freight prices for vessels heading to China have risen by as much as $4 million, with refineries themselves wary of allowing ships into their ports for fear of penalties. Scott Bessent, Donald Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary, reiterated that he would continue to haunt Russia's oil profits with further restrictions to bring an end to the war.
If I'm confirmed, and if President Trump requests, and as part of his strategy to end the Ukraine war, that I will be 100% on board for taking sanctions up, especially on the Russian oil majors, to levels that would bring the Russian Federation to the table.
One of Bessent's ideas to achieve this would be to increase US oil output to a level where the commodity floods the market, effectively pushing Russia out of business. However, analysts remain skeptical about the effectiveness of this approach.
If you subtract the volumes of Russian oil from the market, there's very little they can be replaced with. Gulf countries' production, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, is just not enough to replace what would be taken out of Russia.
Whether the latest sanctions package proves effective will become clearer after the grace period, a window for the energy sector to finalize orders purchased before the sanctions take effect, expected to end around March. It is also considered crucial that the West should prioritize expanding sanctions on higher-margin oil-based products, which, according to the International Energy Agency, are compensating Russia for the revenue it has lost due to sanctions on oil.
Global growth is projected at 3.3% both in 2025 and 2026, according to the newest World Economic Outlook by the International Monetary Fund. The fund released its latest batch of projections on Friday. The newest forecasts are generally consistent with the IMF's October 2024 outlook. It's worth noting that the projected 3.3% growth is slightly slower than the global average of 3.7% seen in the first 2 decades of the 21st century. The fund says that since October, the global economic conditions have changed a bit, with China growing slower than expected, and outlook for the US is better than forecast, but these effects cancelled out, leaving the global projection at the same level. Forecast for GDP growth in Poland has stayed the same at 3.5%, but for the next year it has been slashed by 0.1 percentage points to 3.3%. The most recent World Economic Outlook doesn't deliver any surprises. However, the International Monetary Fund thinks that Polish economic growth will fizzle out a bit in 2026. Friday has also been the day of the National Bank of Poland Governor Adam Glapiński's speech, where he seemed to retain his hawkish stance on inflation. Stay with us after the news for the bottom line. InPost, one of the biggest players in the parcel delivery business in Poland, wants to invest around 700 million euros in the United Kingdom through 2029. The company says the investment could create up to 12,000 jobs. Although InPost entered the British market more than a decade ago, the company's UK business only became profitable in 2023. Now, the Polish parcel service is boasting quick growth on the other side of the channel, with the number of parcels doubling last year. However, the company's deliveries, 93 million parcels, are still dwarfed by the UK market as a whole, estimated by mail tech company Pitney Bowes to be around 5 billion a year. InPost, founded in Poland in 1999, currently operates a network of around 20,000 automated parcel machines in Poland, a service that's becoming increasingly popular in the country as more and more consumers turn to online shopping. Powerdot, an independent charging stations operator, has announced plans to double its Polish network, investing tens of millions of zloty to become the country's leading charge point provider. Meanwhile, the government is working on a new scheme to speed up EV adoption.
More charging stations like this one will soon appear across the country.
In the past 3.5 years, there was a tremendous growth in this sector. Number of charging points almost doubled since that time, and now achieved the number of 2,000 charging points in Poland.
The doubling plan stems from demand. Powerdot reports that the energy purchased through its charging sockets surged by 200% in 2024 compared to the previous year. And there is room for growth. At the end of 2024, there were 8.6 thousand charging stations in Poland. However, experts warn uneven distribution is a looming issue.
Given how quickly electromobility is expanding, with the existing number of EVs and charge points, some regions of the country will inevitably remain blank spots.
Those areas face the classic egg versus chicken dilemma, as demand for EVs in Poland trails that of European leaders, with 24,000 electric vehicles registered in 2024 alone, out of the 500,000 in total. The government hopes to accelerate EV adoption with the second edition of the My EV program, set to begin on February 3rd of this year. Officials anticipate that up to 40,000 Poles could switch to electric cars thanks to the new incentives. Without a well-distributed charging network, however, those hopes may stall.
And we stay on cars. Hybrid cars have become the top choice for new car buyers in Poland, according to a recent report. These alternatively powered vehicles now account for nearly half of all new car purchases in the country. In 2024, nearly 250,000 new hybrid electric vehicles hit Polish roads. According to the Polish Automotive Industry Association, this represents a 30% increase compared to the previous year. In comparison, just over 200,000 new combustion engine vehicles were registered in Poland in 2024. With hybrid vehicles making up 45% of the country's car market, Poland now ranks fourth in the EU for hybrid car share, behind Latvia, Estonia, and Hungary. And that's all for our business and news updates today. For more business stories, check out tvpworld.com.